Right. Let me do mine too. Okay. I'm sorry. Now, Lisa, you were saying?
Well, actually, I was talking about the ants because you were trying to figure out the symbolism
Right.
about ants. The whole time that we were talking to Barbara yesterday and I was sitting outside, I had a bee in my face. Like it just wanted to sit on my nose or kiss my lips. I don't know what it was going for at the end there, where I kind of had to say, okay, dude, please back it off a little. I'm getting very nervous over here. But I asked, okay, so what is the message that you wish to leave me with? Like what? It is so urgent that for an entire hour and a half you've been pestering me. And it was about community that we are putting off in our offering to the universe or our field in our, what do you call that, Sheila?
Our electromagnetic
Taurus.
fields. Yeah, our auras. Yeah.
In our Taurus field, we have created magnification of community.
That's
So it's coming, and like nature is saying, it's coming. Because remember, the dragonflies returned, the hummingbird, because I was like, and the hummies have been absent for a little while. And then all of a sudden you were saying the hummies are trying to show themselves. I said, yeah, because I've been curious about them, so I'm not surprised now that it's like in response. But nature is letting us know like something is about to happen or take place, or I don't know, it's very exciting.
Well, Lisa, I love that you did that as I hit record because that is what would be referred to as a cold open. This is Conscious Conversation Central on the new Light Streaming Love platform. My name is Sheila Corona. I'm joined by my team members, Lisa Flamino Rush and Chris J, who I'm telling you, ladies, I know it's been a while since we've been together and had a conversation. It's been a long while, actually. I mean, we've all of us have been really pretty absent. Lisa, you, I think, more absent than anyone from, no, because I'm just now being reminded that it was September that you started a detoxing that your team asked you. And we did talk about that in one of our conversations you know, last year as right
I
after
know
it's
we're coming up on a year.
I know, and that's so
Year.
this is going to be a bit of a catch up about what's been going on with the team. And then out of that, as I was chatting with Crystal and we were putting this together the other day, what I've been moving through specifically, I think everyone is to differing levels of their own consciousness, is sort of facing and embracing the each's own fear of the unknown, whatever that means for each, right? So I know for me personally, I haven't been present on Sassy Seer Sheila YouTube channel or the New Light Streaming Love YouTube channel. None of the Rumble stuff. I've just not been present. And I'd like to say to each, to those who have reached out to ask how we are, where we are, what's going on. Thank you so much for doing that, for keeping us, in your heart, I guess I would say, and in your fields, right? Um, but I've also had done some observing. Okay, I was in an observation mode of myself, and I just wasn't drawn to the channel. And I've been very vocal on my channel, on my Facebook page. Anybody who'll listen to me, really, that I think that my own take on what we're doing here on the planet includes moving towards that which brings one joy is actually can reveal a being's purpose. Everybody wants to know what their purpose is. Why am I here? There's more to life than what we're being told and programmed and conditioned into believing life actually is. And it just seems to me that ever since I've opened myself up to saying, you know what, I don't think they had all them answers. I got a lot of wrong information, a lot of disinformation, a lot of malinformation, a lot of crap information. Beliefs mostly is what I got coming up, was a set of beliefs that have been solidified over eons of time that really are pretty much void of anything that has to do with what I've come to see as reality. So taking some time, stepping back, since I wasn't drawn to do any of this, felt like the only right thing for me to do. And now having these conscious conversations really has come up in my field again, which is why you ladies have graciously agreed to come and have a conversation with me, because I'm so appreciative of that. But I kind of feel like it's like, for me, I'm going to share what I feel is going on, and then I'd love to hear from the two of you. I feel like in my own case, I'm being shown that there's way more going on here on the planet Earth than what we think is happening. And it's multidimensional on every single level. And so for me to judge what I'm doing in the 3D level as being good or bad, when I quite frankly don't have all the information of every realm I'm spread through. And I'm sure that each one of us have roles that, because if indeed we are all one and time happens simultaneously, because I think that's exactly what it is in the most expansive levels, everything is happening all at once. It's the only way you could be one and separate at the same time, actually, as if there was a level of multidimensionality involved, right?
Yeah. I think that's a conversation hand in hand with fear of the unknown, though, surrendering to, and that's literally what you're saying.
Yes,
Like, you're not going to place no judgment upon what you're doing or how you're being. If you needed the rest, you know, it's just surrendering to that. So literally, you are surrendering to the unknown. You don't know what's happening.
right, right.
So
And I highly recommend it, because, I mean, I keep being shown again, just what if this is true, that you're doing stuff and all. I said this to you right before we started, while we were waiting for Lisa to join us. You were saying that you just rolled out of bed. We had this plan and you just rolled out of bed. And I was like, well, don't judge it, because what if you found out that the reason you're so tired is your full attention was required by another part of you in another realm that needed you to pay attention to A, B, C, D, who knows what. And now we're judging ourselves because we needed that full attention there. And in order to do that, you got to go to sleep. We don't know the truth of that.
right.
And I'm willing to say that that is a very real possibility in my world.
Mhm.
And therefore, like I said, that's why I wanted to share with you ladies about why I've been gone, because it would be very disingenuous of me to continue to push forward to do something that I wasn't drawn to do, just to maintain presence or whatever, because that's not ever been what this has been about for me personally. And I know it hasn't been for you ladies either. So I'm going to be quiet now, and
Yeah,
because I'd love to hear. I know, Lisa, you've been gone even longer than me.
I know. And right when I was getting going too, it felt like Jasmine just said to me today in a text, it's feeling more and more like 2016 to her. And so I've been thinking about that a little bit. And
Wow.
you know, kind of remembering back to where I was in 2016 at this time, and where we were as a group, as a family, and then as a collective, and then all that has transpired and what is transpiring. I don't know, it just feels super significant, which then makes all this rest and what you were talking about earlier, Sheila, with the we could be really busy working stuff out, because I'm a firm believer that in dream time for myself, my soul is in constant meetings with everybody else's soul that's here to work through, to gain consensus for moving forward. And we've really been chucking and jiving at that. And the more that we do that in unison and pull that down, meaning to become aligned with it in our daily activities and live and breathe that here now in the physical realm of manifestation, then we are becoming more cohesive and more influential. And together we have the power to change things on the physical manifest reality plane very, very quickly and very, very smoothly, because I'm kind of noticing that with myself. So I was, you know, doing the writing and a little blogging and a little conversating with the friends that are from near and far um, within the galaxy. And all of a sudden, I was
You,
asked to stop. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you say that last part there, you're speaking about letters from the galaxy, aren't you?
Love letters from the universe.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, from the universe. That's right. Okay,
Yeah,
just
exactly
wanted, I
right.
thought that's what you were referring to.
And I couldn't write anymore with the hands, and I had like a healing crisis. But also, I quickly transitioned into the stillness and the healing potentiality, maybe how I want to describe going into silence. And so that was not easy for me. And I struggled with that. So I wanted to keep sort of the regimen going. And what that did was reveal to me an internal tussle I was having, conflict within, to want to embrace the unknown, but an inability to let the known go. So what has worked for me up until this point in my life, and you know, I'm past 55 now, so I've done these things for a considerable amount of time. They don't want to leave me. It's like I want to leave this arena, and the arena does not want to leave within me, because I keep finding it within myself. And so going to the silence has really helped me, spending more time just sitting quietly. And sometimes that's conversation with myself, and other times it was no communication, just silence. Um, and that made me feel a little uncomfortable. Like I feel blank, like I was resisting it. Like, I don't like this. I want to feel and sort of force my way out of how I was feeling. And then I could see that, oh, wow, I'm really dominating and controlling whatever wants to happen here. And I'm not sure why. So let me just put that down for a minute and see what happens. And so I can successfully put it down for short bursts, but I do, you know, sort of wake up with my hands all up in the mess, going, oh, I fell asleep again. I was trying to be conscious of allowing what wants to happen. So instead of feeling committed to performing, if you will, like, well, I agreed to this activity and I'm participating in this activity. This is, again, I'm still speaking here on love letters, that I'm going to relay messages in this way. And yet I'm just silent. So I had to reconnoiter how to be love letters from the universe. So the love letters don't stop for me. I've actually, it's triggered constant contact in a way, within me, that I haven't experienced ever so far, ever. So that's worth it, right? The silence has paid off.
Well,
It
I would
has,
say, yeah.
yeah, it has done a great deal of healing and it's continuing to heal. But again, it's about, for me, embracing the unknown, because instead of making a plan, creating the path to it, and then executing it and crossing the things off the list as I go, this is more, I don't know the plan and I'm not sure what I'm going to do when I get there. And I have no idea what the gift is awaiting me, versus choosing a gift and then deciding how to make that happen, which is how I've operated my life. So it was almost like I had to take the swirling dervish that was my life, and it had a magnetic pull. It was in a certain direction, and I didn't have to do a whole lot of work in order to keep it going. Just had to kind of sit there. And I've had to slow it down to almost a complete stop. And that silence for me is that complete stop where it's just nothing's going on. It's just silence. And then reorient in an opposite direction, right? And reorient my thoughts to, and now what? Versus choosing something and then hammering it out, making things happen for mine. And instead, allowing life to happen through me, which is a completely different game. One, I must admit, I haven't allowed in this life, in this body.
Not in its fullness. I don't think any of us have.
No,
I think we get glimpses of what you're speaking on there,
yeah.
which is why, for me, it's so attractive, right? Because when I have allowed myself that freedom of what you're speaking on there to step outside of all of what I might want to judge anything as,
Mm-hmm.
because there's this, this recipe for success. You just what you were saying there about, step one, do this, step two, and actually multidimensionality doesn't work like that at all. And life happening through us would absolutely not work like
You could say that again.
right. So yeah, wow, Lisa, that's
Yeah.
pretty profound actually to come to
Well,
that.
it is. And it's a profound change that's not just happening for me or to me, but through me. The all is changing in this fashion, right?
Right.
So I want to roll with it. So I'm embracing the silence. Finally, it took me a minute. But also the silence, my silence, your silence, all silence speaks volumes, because everything is within the silence. And so what needs to be revealed to you will be. It's just all there. It's just a different way to be and to create and to experience, because I've kind of had a very similar experience since I got here, over and over and over and over again. And so now it's time to do something completely different and have a completely different experience. And boy, is it ever different.
Do y'all hear music?
I've heard it a little bit off and on. I thought it was just me.
Oh, well, I gotta go cut it off before we get censored.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. No, I just, it's like a,
Yeah, we can't really hear the lyrics or
yeah,
what's
thank
being,
goodness.
but yeah. So that's
Yeah,
good.
it's just well, but see, you know what? That happens to me, what she's describing there about, that's why I didn't say anything because I, I have been told that I'm hearing other realms when that happens. So
Sure.
sometimes when I hear music from a different place, it's become so commonplace now. I feel like I've heard a full on party in the next room, knowing that I'm in this house by myself.
Yeah, same.
So, wow, Lisa, I love the way you put that though, because like I said, I really wanted to judge myself in particular for staying away for so long, right, from my channel. And but I wrestled with myself over and over and over again, because I thought I wanted to come back in this, and then I wanted to say, well, why aren't you, I wanted to beat up on myself. What's your problem? Why aren't you doing this? This is what you signed up for. What are you running from? That was the big question I had for myself, and I wasn't getting anything on that. So that's pretty profound the way you put that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So that's where I've been. That's what I've been doing.
Well, the way from my perspective, living in the same community with you and watching what you've moved through in this past year, it is very clear that you were being told to stop everything because, it got to the point where you couldn't even write you couldn't write, you couldn't carry anything, your hands were in a thing, you were you were incapacitated pretty much from doing much of anything, to be honest with you.
Yes.
It had to do with hands. And so, from my perspective, I could clearly see, but it's always real easy for someone outside of me to look into my thing and see, oh, I see what you got going on over there, and have all kind of a judgment about it. Because ask me how I know that. I've judged plenty of folks, plus, been had a lot of judgment placed on me too. So I know what that looks like. But from an observational standpoint, watching, especially the two of you and what we were embarking upon, and all three of us virtually at about the same moment stepping off and saying adios to much of everything. So, Crystal, let's hear from you, from your perspective, because if I'm not mistaken, I saw you wrote a little something about it on your Facebook page about your at one point. I feel like you did something about your selective mutism on your page during this quiet time that we had as well.
I don't think it was during that. I think that was like a couple of years back, wasn't it?
Well, if it was, it just showed itself to me while we've all been quiet, and it's been over this last
It
year.
probably popped up where I was sitting here thinking Lisa's talking about her kind of going through this phase of being in the silence, but you guys know I spent most of my life in silence.
No, that's right.
So, it's so opposite over here. It's so opposite over here. I'm definitely not moving through that. If anything, I feel like a like a I want to say like I myself have purchased a new toy and I'm playing with all the components of it, and it's like a new adventure every day. You never know what's going to pop out with this toy. So that's kind of how I feel over here. I right before all of this happened, I think I told you, Sheila, that I had gotten the message that, I need to get real grounded, real centered in the physical. Didn't know why, don't know why, still don't know why. I mean, it's been fun. Uh, but that's kind of where I've been at, instead of like vice versa. I've spent my whole life in the silence, in the medium, in the other veil, in the other side, in the spiritual realm, playing with that. I just heard the word frolicking through it. And now I am very grounded in the physical. I've been doing a lot of 3D things. Okay, maybe I need to experience that. I'm surrendering to that. So there's a lot of action taking place on the ground too.
Well, that's true. But so what I feel like I saw, and I just found it here on your page, it was you posted this January 30th. So it wasn't specifically, yeah, this year.
Wow.
It wasn't specifically just about, but it was about, I'll just say it, these past couple of weeks, I've found myself trying to break free from anything that I've felt like was controlling me, and you went on, and, some of that was in there. And I feel like, from my perspective, that was right around the same time that all three of us collectively, and I suspect a lot more of other light workers, dark workers, folks that are, exploring their own path of ascension embodiment on this planet, kind of took a step back collectively. For whatever their own internal reasons, it's almost as though everybody, from my perspective, everybody, a majority feels like to me, got a collective feeling to do so. And I think I'm being shown in these moments of why now that is specifically, and why some of us went through some of these things like Lisa did. These are preparatory, at least that's the message I'm getting for myself. These are preparatory moments. We have a lot within our own fields to deal with still and yet. This goes to the embracing the unknown part now.
Yes.
I think, right?
Well,
Go ahead.
I mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't.
But I was just thinking about how it doesn't surprise me really, Crystal, that you're having a different experience from Sheila and I. It's almost like the soul groups that are born together. So at the different years, they come in on a wave with a specific societal change wave, if you will. So an intention to tackle a specific area of change. And you find the bodysuit that puts you, your soul, with your special gift and your specialized piece of this wave. You come in and shift that energetically for the all, right? Collectively, the individual who works changes things collectively. So as each chooses to take on that mantle, right, and do that work, whether it's, as consciously as we are, or it's just by divine passion and they can't stop themselves, but they wouldn't talk to you or I about it in the way that maybe you or I would talk about it. They're still doing that. They are participating in that holding of that wave that they came in on, if you will. And it's almost like each wave supports the next. And so it's to me perfect again in its timing and in our sine waves and in the harmony of it and in the dance of it, that we would be in different positions. And it's the beauty of that too, of the harmony of us all working together. Then when one is more focused in a resting, quiet piece, we have little girl out there rubbing shoulders with the public in a very 3D, in a very physical manner. So she's very connected to you and I and what we do. And so she's even benefiting from the silence that we are holding and sitting in and broadcasting, emanating that through the crowds. Like everything serves. This is how God moves. Spirit moves, life moves, love moves, consciousness grows and flows in this manner. So when the three of us chose to be, empty vessels, or however you want to hold it, to really invite our divinity to fill up this body and life and take the lead, oh my goodness, the amount of benefit to the three of us, but also the whole, because our cups are runneth overing, and you can just see the perfection of the working together, the symbiotic nature of our relationship. And like the in-breath and the out-breath perform very significantly different functions, but equally important functions. And they happen in cyclical fashion. So to me, this feels like we are really in tune with what, God is doing here on this planet.
So, Crystal, from your perspective, if you don't feel as though that, that the way we're describing our experience, I'd love to hear more about
Yeah.
your experience of this.
Just since being like silent, stepping away from things.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying. To me, I kind of held it in the same. There's like, I don't know, whenever I see things, I see them on multidimensional levels now. I can see from the farthest out where almost all that would classify themselves as light workers have taken a step back in their own estimation in some sort of way, one way or the other, whatever that means or feels like to them. And for whatever ways it feels like to them, I'm suspecting there's and what keeps being shown to me doesn't mean I'm right for everybody. It could be just me. Again, I've had that experience a lot. Because I keep feeling like this is all in preparatory for what is to come. There are things that perhaps it's only going to pertain to the older crowd. I don't know, but there are things that I feel as though I'm going to be asked to do that I'm not quite ready for right now. And that's part of what the stepping back is, right? It's a preparatory move. Exactly what that means, I have no clue. But I'm just saying I feel it, and that's the overall and applies to almost every light worker because there does seem to be more and more what people would classify as first time awakenings or people who are just now getting because everybody on the planet has felt something's wrong, but not everybody has got a clue as to what it is or how to even look at it or, those sorts of things, right? So,
And
so I would like to hear from you. Say what?
Some just don't want to look at it
At all.
True enough, and that is their choice, sure enough. And I feel like that too is part of the whole I don't like to call it a game, but sometimes that's the way it feels. So that's part of it though.
You know how I started just kind of like looking at everything like that, though? It's like the whole balance of the whole universe. with maybe, just maybe, without those types of people, there couldn't be us types of people, you know?
Exactly correct.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in agreement with that. That's why I said everybody gets to choose. And who the hell am I to say that the way they've chosen is the wrong way?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess my perspective on where I've kind of been and moving through, I don't think like I said, I feel very grounded. I feel very 3D. I feel very grounded in the physical, doing a lot of physical things, you know, just normal, typical stuff. But on another level of me, I know that the spiritual or the part that I've moved through my whole life and you know grasped onto basically is my identity, you know. It's integrated, like it's there with me. It's not like it's just, you know, I got to move back over to this side to tap back into it. No, it's there. It's who I am. And I guess in some form or fashion, like the message of me getting grounded in reality here and now is just that, me being present in whatever it is that I'm doing. Um, and it's like carrying that with me. Uh, yeah, I don't know.
I agree.
I don't feel like there's been anything, no. I was about to say there's nothing really like extraordinary that's happened here lately, but there is. It's all around,
Yeah.
you know? And you can choose not to look at that stuff even though it's mundane or it's, you know, just average or regular or whatever, but or you can choose to look at it and see it as the extraordinary thing that it is.
Yeah.
So,
So
I
let
don't know.
me ask you because I'm getting a visual here, and I want to ask you. So when you say the mundane, but I get this feeling like when you're looking at the mundane through these eyes, because I'm getting this thing that the parts of you that you may have been in awe of before are now so integrated into you that they have become mundane. So that when you are seeing synchronicity or the universe is
It
uh,
just is.
speaking with you, through you, that sort of thing, it's just more mundane now because it's just you.
Yeah,
Right. I get it. That's what I wanted to be very
normal.
clear about.
Like I can take like 5 years ago and I would see a synchronicity and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, like it means something. But now I'm just like, ah, you know, it's just a completely different feel. And even like I guess it's hand in hand with like not only becoming more and more of who you are, but also surrendering to who you are. So there's that feeling of it just is. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it other than that, but it's just a feeling of
I have a question for you on that score because I'll tell you what I just got. Would you say that it could be that because your words were, it's more like surrendering to who you are?
yeah,
So it seems to me like, and I've had a tough time with this, and I think this is partly what Lisa alludes to. In that surrendering to who we are, first of all, I didn't know who the hell I was. There's that. So, and still discovering the who I actually am and then surrendering to it, that is part of that unknown because
hmm
this whole idea of who I thought I was, and honestly, I don't know anybody that doesn't have this going on. There's a whole lot of, okay, this is what so and so thinks of me. This is what I'm supposed to be. This is what I grew up hearing we're all supposed to be. And so who I think I am and what I'm supposed to be doing, or any one of us actually,
yep,
that's where that surrendering over to who we actually are becomes an act of bravery and submitting to the unknown.
yes.
Well,
I mean,
thank you for that.
that's definitely a lot of it. You know, you know, y'all know I've struggled with that whole who I am, and I think about it now of in versus of like who I am. I just wasn't like everybody else, and I thought I needed to be like everybody else. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't that I ever didn't know who I was. It's just that I was striving to be like everybody else. But who's to say that that person that I'm trying to be like ain't being like the other person, and they're not really being themselves either.
Yeah.
So I just got off of that ride. You know, I'm done. So yeah, that was a big part of it. There was something else I wanted to say too, to tell you.
That's pretty profound, though,
Yeah,
when you
well,
say it
I'm
like
good.
that, because there's a whole thing about accepting our uniqueness right now. If you ask me, that's huge in the world, because if you are selling yourself out to belong to anything, doesn't matter what it is, any kind of group, any kind of group think, group consciousness, belong to this. I want to be like everybody else, but that's an impossibility for any of us because we are, guess what, completely unique. Sorry, that's just the way it is.
But somewhere along the lines, you know, it's pumped into our and I think it has a lot to do with the school systems. First
Yes,
off,
the programming and conditioning.
yeah. Obviously my kids are homeschooled, so I'm very grounded in that and their originality and their uniqueness and just allowing them to be who they are, whatever that's going to look like. You know, it's very important,
Right.
especially coming from where I came from. Um, I don't know what the other thing was that I want to tell you, but I've become so oh, it ties into the portion about the fear of the unknown. Okay. So I've always had a fear of the unknown in a way of like it holds me back. Like the fear grips me from doing things that I might have wanted to do. Um, Getting on camera. Okay, push through that fear. It's been what, 3 years now or so? Well, longer than that going live. Um, of putting myself out there. So, okay, done with that fear. Fear conquered, whatever. But there's been moments to where that fear of the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen, traveling to a new place, going here, experiencing this, talking to this person, you never know what's going to happen. So that fear of the unknown has kind of like revolved around me. And I really wanted to like break it down. I feel like first I had to go through the steps of like, okay, this is who I am. In my core, this is who I am. I have accepted that, and y'all can accept it or not. It's okay. I have a feeling that eventually you're just going to get used to it, and then you're not going to pay it no mind. So I mean, once you get to a point over here, like I've been labeled a witch, I've been labeled this, I've been labeled that, and I'm just like, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll claim it. You know, it doesn't even matter anymore. Put what you want to on me. Um, and so I think I had to move through all of that first before I could get to the portion to where I'm like strong enough or like grounded enough to really stand in that power of when I had to face those fears. Like facing those fears along the way kind of helped build this, you know, oh.
Yeah.
And then I get to the point to where I'm all right, really digging in. This is a couple weeks ago. I'm really digging into, okay, what is this fear of the unknown? Because I got really triggered about going to a particular place that I've never been again and having to drive. And I was like, I've driven to New York City and drove around the city for 7 days. Like, you know, I'm coming from the country, and that didn't bother me one bit back in the day. I'm like, what? Why am I being triggered by this? And so I broke that down and I'm like, oh, it's fear of the unknown. But why am I so scared of the unknown? And then it was like flashes of all the times I've had fears of the unknown and what's held me back. And what's every time I get to running on the ground, something pulls me back. And that something is that fear of the unknown. But when it really boiled down to it, this is how it ties into the whole scenario of death. It's not just like the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of the unknown of that. It's not like a fear of, oh, how's it going to happen or anything like that. And I also told you, me, I've always had eyes for the occult, the taboo, the things that, people couldn't explain or didn't want to talk about, didn't want to question. And it's just always been my thing. And I've never been scared of that stuff. Okay, why in the world am I having a fear of those things, of that thought of death, of the unknown? um and so I had to really take a look at that. And well, I'm still processing those things. And that as I work through that, I know it helps with my physical fear of the unknown, the things that hold me back. So that's kind of where I've been, and that's where I'm at with that process.
Well, it's kind of interesting to me that you're speaking on too, and I think that might be why you said when we were having our pre-conversation about doing this conversation, that's been a lot on my mind. All right, death in and of itself, right? And death means a lot of things to a lot of people because it's just another ending, but there's a lot of programming and conditioning that has gone into what death means, right? And it will again look and feel different for each being. But in terms of what has been happening on the planet and how it's affecting my personal physical vessel, I have said many times, I kind of got over the fear of death a long time ago because of all the surgeries that I had. And on some level, I know that death is not the end. So I'm not worried about that. For some reason, I've obviously never really been too worried about it.
I
Otherwise,
hadn't either. It came as a shock when that came out for me. Like, what do you mean?
right, right. But well, and in truth, I'll be honest with you, some of the books that we've done in book study and this one here, the soul's journey actually is the closest thing to what I always on some level of me believed was actually going down, right? And so to read somebody else's take that was so close to mine, um you know just actually assisted me with that. So I guess in terms of, because I also, we kind of hear from others in this field, other folks that are, awakening to the truth of who we are collectively. And there's a lot of physical stuff going on, especially for some of us older folks, like myself. But I always had that knowing within me that I want to be here and experience the embodied ascension, because I feel like that's what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
And I'm also clear this body has been through an awful lot of trauma, both surgically, medically. The damage that has been done to this physical vessel has been pretty great. And there have been lots of repairs, and those repairs are ongoing all the time. True enough, right? So getting a grip on the unknown, and I think that's a lot of it still is for me, hung up in some of that programmed, conditioned belief systems that, because of the way we're raised, because of all the information that's pumped into the morphogenic field that we swim in regards to death and what they're doing to us, right? If it's like, if we're going to stay in that victim mode, all those kinds of things, I don't know, that just played into it hugely for me. And I feel like that was some of what you were referring to there in regards to that. Even though so for myself, I felt like most of my fear of death had to do when I was much younger. and my concern about leaving my minor child to the whims of somebody else raising him, right? So I know there's got to be a fair amount of that
Oh,
from
I'm sure.
you, right? So just for me, just coming to, and I don't know that I'm fully over all of that kind of fear either, but I'm very clear that that's a part of it, a part of what's been coming up for me, specifically because of the different physical things that I personally have been moving through in the last year and a half to 2 years, really. Just still being unsure if the body's going to be able to handle it, because very clearly there's a lot going on the planet, and all of it, not all of it. It's gonna, for me, I've been getting the information that, it's still, the jury is still out for me personally as to whether or not the body will be able to handle it. But I'm not afraid of that. I really am not. I don't feel like I am, but maybe that's, maybe that's just not, because I try to move towards, in every case when something comes up that I feel like I might be afraid of, I want to move towards it. That was kind of why I was surprised at my not wanting to be, I wasn't being drawn to these conversations. Now, that's changed, by the way. Obviously, by the very fact that we had one yesterday with Barbara and we're having this now today with you. Say what, Lisa?
2 days. We're like wild people over here.
I know, right? Well, and to be fair, I have been contacted by those diehard folks that have been following me and my antics for quite some time, and saying, where are you? What's going on? You're needed. Why are you not out here? Kind of thing. But I just didn't feel drawn. And so, but I do now. And I want to thank both of you for, and I don't want, I'm not trying to end this conversation. I just want to thank you both for coming and having this conversation, specifically about this last portion of our conversation about the fear of death, or just the unknown, period. Because that's it. I have been very clear that through all the programming and conditioning that I've received over my lifetime, Christianity in toto there as well, about what death is or isn't. And I think that it's just an unknown. It's not just the death on its own face.
I just had a little epiphany over here. So you keep me bringing up the programming and stuff, and I'm like, no, it's not really that for me, because, like, I mean, I've even said it out loud many a times now, which it took me a long time to get to that position to where I was like, I'm not a Christian. I live in the Bible Belt. My parents are Christians. My whole family are Christians. Christians everywhere, you know? I am, let me say this directly, I am not a Christian. I can, like, proudly say that. That's just who I am. That's a part of it. So I was like, no, because I done went through all that deprogramming with all that stuff. And, like, it's fascinating. Respect to the religion, cool, but it's not me. It's not what I believe. Jesus was a bad way. He's cool. Anyways, and I was like, hold up, so what is it? And then Quinley flashed through my mind. She's been asking a lot of questions about, well, she has been for a long time. Right before her surgery, she was asking questions about death and, all that stuff. And I guess she has just kind of like a mind like me. It's curious, and it has a lot of questions about religions and life and, stuff like that. And my programming is that there's a guilt or a feeling of I'm supposed to be teaching her those things. But on the other hand, I want them to have freedom to choose what they want to choose to believe.
Well, you see,
So
I
there's
think
a
that
fine
goes
line.
specifically to that programming and conditioning. You believe with all of you that you've rooted all of that out of you. And if you had, that guilt you just mentioned wouldn't be there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm aware. That's why I brought it forward, because honestly, I went through some of that with my own child. I didn't want to taint him, but at the same time, I still was dealing with, well, but he ought to at least be exposed so he knows he can make a choice, right? Well, I did. I exposed him. So I don't know. What are you doing with that? How are you handling that within yourself? And
I don't know. I just had the little epiphany here that
mm,
that's exactly what it is. There's a part of me that feels like I should be teaching her whatever, and that's a programming. Like, you grow up in a Christian family, you're taught Christianity. You grow up in a Hinduistic family, you are taught Hindi, what
right,
Hinduistic beliefs.
right,
Where you're from, basically, that's what you're going to be taught. What your family believes, that's what you're going to
exactly.
be taught. And that in itself is a program. Because my parents believe this, does that mean that I'm supposed to believe? No. So, I mean, we talk about the universe. We talk about things that I do believe in. We talk about spirit. We talk about how the universe will communicate with you. We talk about nature. We talk about the fantastical things like fairies and dragons and, things that most aren't going to talk about. We talk about those things, but I have never said, like, in a fashion that you should believe in what I believe. You know what I'm saying? And I guess there's that programming of, oh, mama should be telling her what to believe in. Mama should be telling her, those things. And that's not true. So that's something I got to release.
Well, you actually hit on, to me, it's a much larger topic, actually, that we could even, have another conversation about at some point, because that programming and conditioning that each grows up with, and it applies to everything, including dun, 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 political party.
Very true.
I grew up as a generational Democrat. Just saying. And there are beliefs attached to those things.
Yeah.
And there's stuff like that in every family,
Mm-hmm.
every race, every religion, every creed has all of that tied up within it that we are intent on programming the next generation with.
Yeah.
And so I feel that's what you're alluding to there. And it is a much larger topic, but yes, you're so right.
But that's also a prime example of how, even though that right there might have sounded just so minor, like, oh, you feel guilty because you're not teaching her religious beliefs like you were taught to do. Yeah, but that's a pretty big, impactful thing, and that's just a prime example of how small a programming could be, but have such a major effect in your life. So don't discard anything that that you come across within yourself, because there's always something to it, and there's always a connect the dot here to that.
Well, I couldn't agree more.
Fear of unknown has something to do with my kid, because I feel the guilt of what I should be teaching her or should be teaching, connect. And I'm sure
Yeah,
there's more to it too,
yeah, I
but
heard your phone agree with you over there.
that was my first epiphany. So, and that's how it happens too. Everybody talks about healing, and everybody wants some snappy remedy to just do it. But let's remember, healing is in steps, and you can always go back to the metaphor of an onion. You're peeling back layers, and that's
Yeah.
what you're doing for yourself. And you're not going to get to that core until you get to the thing on the outside first, and then you work your way inside. That's how you deprogram. That's how you heal.
And to me, that's the biggest advertisement for moving towards what draws you, because therein lies the trigger that will release you, the thing that could heal you, the conversations that you want to have, but you don't have. Look at how you just got triggered with an epiphany there. Had we not been having this conversation, it may not have happened for you in this particular way on this particular day.
It might have been 3 months from now, you know?
Right? So that's why I say, for me, it's just you just articulated even more why it's important for beings to move towards that which they are drawn. There's gold there. And if you don't find that gold, here's another thing that keeps coming up for me. I can't believe that this has come up in my field a lot in the last 2 weeks. We as humans, this is apparently something that was coined by Napoleon Hill way back in the teens and 20s of the 19th century, or the 20th century, I guess, because this is now the 21st. But in the 1920s or something like that, in the teens or 20s, he said people give up 3 feet from gold.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling drawn, but you're not seeing what you think you ought to see from it, still don't give up. If you're still being drawn, keep going, because sometimes we give up 3 feet from gold.
Yeah. The many times I've done that because of the fear of the unknown.
Yes. What will I find on the other end of this?
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that has something to do with a programmed condition that we've each lived with. Because, stepping outside of some of this programming and conditioning is a feat all in and of itself, as I know the two of you have found quite regularly.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. Well, I hope, it is my hope that these conversations that we've had, the three of us today, the three of myself, Lisa, and Barbara yesterday, are the kinds of conscious conversations that I have missed, and am really looking forward to being a part of coming up. What they'll look like, where, how often that'll happen or whatever, who's to say? But I'm thinking on different ways to put out topics and then throw them out there and see if other folks wish to come and join, or if it's something that people would like to participate in live. I'd like to hear in the comments of this video, which will live on New Light Streaming Love and on Sassy Seer Sheila. This is a conscious conversation, and it's sort of a reintroduction in my mind to this concept of having conversations. The truth of it is, let me just put this out there too. The whole point of these kinds of conversations is just show up and chat on something that feels right, and throw out what comes up for one. I personally am not attached to anything, because I keep being shown where so much of things that I have been attached to in my life are just that. They're programmed conditions that I'm being asked if I would like to let that go now. And so if folks want to come and tell me what I'm doing wrong, we don't want to have those kinds of conversations, because I don't think any of us are doing anything wrong. I don't think that's even a possibility. We can label it like that if we want to, in the moment that it's going down, especially if it's not what you're wanting to hear or how you want to experience life or whatever. But I keep being shown for myself that that's a stepping stone to something else. So I'm not going to judge that as I'm moving through it. Thank you very much, because what could be on the other side, I don't want to taint that, because I've also seen what is on the other side of some of this, and it's quite joyous indeed. And so I'm very clear for myself that I'm just going to be open and allow things to present themselves. So I want to thank the two of you for coming and having this conversation with me. And it's an open invitation for us to do this again real soon. And I don't know what it means if we're going to be coming back all the time or whatever, but well, I'm open to whatever. So
We're going with the flow.
that's right. In every sense. Well, so how do we want to close this out? Does anybody have any feelings about what's coming up? Crystal, do you want to talk about what you're getting ready to do over there locally, or is that something you're going to do separately? Because
Yeah, I mean, and that probably has a lot of the reason why I had to go through this whole getting really grounded in the here, the present. I've been going, well, we have some festivals lined up to go to, so I've been out there doing tarot readings and selling some things, selling some of my art.
I know I'm excited for that. And I'm hoping maybe Lisa and I could come and visit you at one of your festivals that you're doing, maybe do a little filming and, that sort of thing about what you're doing so that when you are doing things like that, you could even put out where you're going to be. So
Yeah.
if somebody's in that area and they want to come get a live reading from you or, take a look at what you've got going on as far as the jewelry that you're putting together and the different things that you're offering. As a single mom who is providing for your children in various and sundry different ways outside of what folks would call the norm. I just want to highlight that for you so that folks can take advantage. Because personally, when I have any gifts I'd rather buy it from something that you've made than something that I bought from China for somebody. So
Agreed.
right. So
there's something more about the whole community thing too that Lisa brought up in the earlier part of this. I'm not sure what that is other than like
you want to hear what's been happening? Because she alluded to it, but we didn't share that. Here, you've been here to our house, so you know what it's like here. Well, all at once, we have been inundated with ants. And, I communicate with all the creatures around here and say, look, you're welcome, but understand if you show yourself, the people around here freak out about bugs and they will kill you. So don't be showing yourself. Right? That's what I say. And if you don't listen, then you're fair game to them. I can't help you from the other folks in this house that don't want bugs, right? Well, all of a sudden we've got not an infestation, but there's these huge ants, and they're not coming like an infestation, but they're huge and they're intelligent, and they stop and look at me when I'm speaking to them. And sometimes when I make a move, they'll start running off or whatnot. But it's just very interesting. I've never seen. I've lived in this house for now almost 12 years. Never seen them in this house. Never once. All of a sudden, I've seen, I don't know, 6 in this last week. And I went out into the backyard. Now, I've seen them in the backyard. Yes, I've seen those kind of ants in the backyard. Of course, we got some big trees out here. And I went in the backyard yesterday to set out a jar to put under the sun and get some of the sun's rays. And the minute I stood still in one place, 6 or 8 of those ants came. And I didn't even tell you this yesterday, Lisa. You were sitting in the backyard, and I was standing out there by that jar, and they just all came running up. They didn't climb on me, they didn't climb on the jar, but they all came running up to see what was going on. It was the wildest thing.
Yeah, and they represent community, as do bees. So I think it's a sign that our community is alert and they're feeling the magnetic pull. And to me, that's another symptom of why people have been reaching out to you, because they're looking for community, just like we were when we were at that stage. And so they're remembering that, you know, hey, we're open to talk about anything.
And the truth of it is, when you're first awakening to the truth of who you are, there's all kinds of information out there. So when people are drawn specifically to us, I feel like there's always a reason for that.
Yeah, I do too.
Now, Crystal, I watched you go, oh, when she said that. So what did you get?
I was thinking about yesterday, somebody sent me a picture of an advertisement of one of the people that's going to be at one of these festivals, and they're a tarot reader, and this person was like, competition. And I was like, that's not competition. Like, that's community, you know? Like, why? And this is literally what I told this person. I was like, why am I going to look at them as competition?
Right.
You can look at it as networking. You can look at it
Right.
as, because apparently this person has a store that they had opened up, not kind of locally, but not. And I was like, that's community right there. That's not competition. And they just couldn't understand why I couldn't see it as competition. Like, but yeah, but they've got this and they've got that and they've got this and they're going to be at the festival. Okay.
Well, but see, I'll tell you what, from my perspective, what that is that if the goal is to make money, then of course they're your competition. But if the goal,
But still, even so, this is also what I told them, because I did feel that too. I said, look, if everybody looked at that like that, there wouldn't be a Walmart and a Target. If everybody looked at that like that, there wouldn't be an Ingles and a Bilo. There wouldn't be a Dollar General and a Family Dollar. There's more than enough to go around.
well,
Who
isn't that the
might like
truth?
me and my reading style might not like theirs. Who likes theirs might not like me. I'm not for everybody, and neither are they.
That's
There's
right.
more than enough to go around for everybody.
There really is. You're so right. That's what I meant by that.
So,
And
yeah, competition? No, absolutely not.
I love that. I love that because that is true. The way I look at it is that that's very, very true. Because, different types for different folks.
Yeah.
I'm not for everybody. That's the truth.
I mean, it's just the reality of it. It kind of goes back to how'd you put it way back in the day? Translator. It's kind of the same thing, not everybody's gonna somebody might come to me and I give them a reading and they're like, I didn't understand that at all. She's way deep in the surface, deep below the surface, and I have no idea what she's talking about. Whereas they might go to somebody else and they're a little more on the surface and can explain things in a better way to them to help them to process it. It's
I'm laughing because that actually came up in our conversation yesterday with Barbara. I have long felt, and people that have followed this channel for a while, or me for long enough, know I have long felt that everybody has at least one, and I'm pretty sure it's multiple translators.
Yeah, of course.
And I started experiencing this very early on in my relationship with Lisa and her dad. Okay, so we'd be having conversations with Papa Joe and trying to explain a concept, right, that we're speaking on or we're feeling, and he just ain't getting it. He cannot get it. We are not making any kind of sense to him on any sort of level. And then, I don't know, a month or two will go by, and he found somebody that he's talking to, and they told him thus and such, and now he gets it. And I'm looking at Lisa going, didn't we tell him that? I could swear we told him that. And Lisa would say, yes, we did tell him that. But it is because we are not his translators. For whatever the reason, when we explain a concept to him, he's not getting it. This other person over here explained it's the same information, by the way. It's not like it was different. She was his translator. We were not. And we could get all upset with ourselves because we can't seem to get him to understand it, or we could just recognize, oh, okay, that's what that is. At least that's I'm telling you, I now see that very clearly. Part of the reason I call myself a puzzle piece collector is I could not understand why it is that my sister could tell my son virtually the same information I would tell him, and he couldn't accept it from me, but he sure could take it in from her. And I used to get really upset about that, but now I understand since I notice it happening all over the place with multiple different people. It has nothing to do with anything other than the frequency within which a person is operating. That whole emanate fixing things within and it emanating out, it has to do with that, in my view. So kind of interesting, you brought up translators, and when we just were talking about that yesterday too, and oh, okay, what I'm just now being shown is that different translators are okay. So that's why I'm now being drawn to come back, because I know that I am a translator for multiple people. I've always known that. Now I'm accepting of that. And so it's time for some of these conversations to start happening again, because they're in the field. Whether they even get put out or not now, they're in the field, and it makes it available to others. Thank you for that, Crystal. I think it's very interesting because that helped me see that's part of the why, because I always ask that question, why now? What's changed? Why wasn't I feeling this, 2 months ago? What's changed? But it doesn't matter what's changed. So obviously something within me.
Well, you just got to surrender to that. Remember, I told you the other day I went on live. I came home from work. I heard go live. I didn't question it. I didn't start sitting in fear of whatever. I just came over here, cut it on. I got on it. I sat down. Now, nobody showed up, but that's not the point. Whether that was me just having that expression of pushing through fear, or not even in the slightest allowing that to come in at all, or maybe just to prove to myself that you don't have to live in fear. I don't know. Whatever the purpose was, like, I surrendered to that. And so that's a beautiful thing. It once you start capturing yourself doing that, like, you're going to want to feel that surrendering over and over again. And it makes such a difference in your life, for real.
Well, can I just share this you did share that with me, but for some reason I didn't see it until just this moment when you shared it again. Who's to say that you're breaking through that and doing as you felt guided and nudged in the moment wasn't the seal that was broken that I now feel? Because I told you, I didn't know you'd done that. Remember, I told you, I didn't know you did that. I didn't get notified you'd done that at all. But how do I know? I don't know that wasn't the seal that broke it for me to say, yes, it's time. We don't know.
Fascinating.
Yes, and to assume that it didn't have anything to do with it, I think it leaves a lot on the table as well, right? So
Yep.
thank you for sharing that again, because that's something that I hadn't considered before.
Yeah, I wouldn't have considered that either. And in my mind, I'm like, well, it's the same concept of as you heal, you open the doorway for others to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yeah.
The strides we take forward, just it opens some sort of maybe portal, energetic envelope, whatever you want to call it, for other people to use. And
Well, it goes to the all being one and yet singular, so that when you, as the point of awareness that is crystal, but is also the all, has healed that and opened it up, now it's available for others. Lisa helped me see this on a very real level. No matter what we do, if we're just handling ourselves, it is helping the all. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Thank you both so much for this. And I look forward to the next one. And so we'd love to hear from those who haven't heard from us in a while, what your comments are about what we've talked about, ideas for topics that you would like to participate in, either live or on camera, joining the rest of us in any combination thereof. And go to KnewLightStreamingLove, www.new, KNEW, lightstreaming.love. Who knew? I'm still in awe of us finding out that you could create a website .love instead of .com. I love that.
I'm all for that.
But that's where you can find everything that has to do with Crystal, Lisa, and myself. That's the hub where we're putting everything. I am going to start writing myself now. So there'll be a blog coming up there soon from me.
Y'all know that we're finally I've had that website for what, 4 or 5 years now, and it's just now getting categorized in Google.
Really?
Yeah. Like I haven't been on there like in the past couple months, and I looked at it, I don't know, it's probably about a week ago, and the analytics on it were like so many visitors. Way up there. And I was like, what in the world? And then my friend, she sent me she was trying to find our website, which we haven't paid for it, so it's a WordPress.com thing, and it kept redirecting it to my original website on Google, and I was like, oh, it's categorized now. Wow. Because usually if you would type in, Journey into it or anything that I've done, like you'd have to go way down to find my stuff, or either like get me to send you the link. But now it's top, it's number one on there. So
I'm sorry, I cannot unsee that. I can't unsee that. The fact that you've had that for all that time and that's never happened. And now all of a sudden, okay.
Yeah, it's the ants. It's time.
Yep, it's the ants.
They're
You're right.
coming. Marching right along to you, to the bright light.
I
That's
don't know,
what it
maybe
is.
maybe too, after this, or maybe not after this, but at some point we need to like have a conversation about that in particular.
Okay. I'm down. I'm down now. I'm down. I'm ready. I'm ready for more conversations to take place. So those of you that will be seeing this later, do give us some comments, because apparently commenting and sharing conversations like this does help the algorithms. And the very fact that you're coming up in the Google thing now, to me, I have wondered, and I kind of asked myself, see, that's why I say, to me, that's a sign. That's a sign that maybe some of what I suspected was going on, because, I've always wondered, why me? Why did they take me? 2,000 viewers Conscious Conversation Central had subscribed. Why did they pick on the old grandma who really wasn't saying much of anything, to take me off the air twice? It had less to do with what was being said and more to do with what was being said. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't saying things incorrectly, but it was a frequency thing. And so I knew that when the frequency shifted, there would be outward signs. And the fact that you just shared that about Google with KnewLightStreamingLove, that's one of those frequency shifting signs. I'm going to take it as that. And I think you're right, Lisa. That's another sign the ants were alluding to. The frequencies have shifted. And so, oh, that's exciting. So, comment, share, let us know what you think. You want to join us for a conversation? Hit us up, KnewLightStreamingLove@gmail.com. And or if you know or know me, you can reach out to me at consciousconversationscentral@gmail.com. Anything else, ladies, that you want to share?
I got an open offer. I've been learning about and testing out face readings. So if you are interested in that, like I'm more on TikTok now than anywhere, but I guess I could send you my link and you could post it with this.
Yes, please do. We'll put it in both videos on Sassy Sheila, Seer Sheila, and on New Light Streaming Love.
Yeah.
Anything and everything that you want to have, folks. And yeah, I'd like to hear more about that for myself. Maybe.
Y'all know I'm all the time learning something.
I know. So we'll.
Facial reading,
Fun.
and now I
Yeah.
can't not stop seeing things in people's faces.
Well, all right. Well, let's go ahead and end this here, but I want the two of you to stay right here. Don't go anywhere. I'm just gonna tell everybody thank you so much and say, till next time, continue to move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself, because I promise you that is where you'll find your purpose if you don't know what your purpose is. And just what if, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say it again. What if that is exactly what each one of us is supposed to do? Because it releases everybody else to be able to do the same. So, till next time.